The energy in the room was palpable. You have a prime minister who is visibly trying to project a sense of steady-as-she-goes stability, while the leader of the opposition is smelling blood in the water. The core of this clash? A welfare bill that was supposed to be the government's crowning achievement in fiscal responsibility, but which the opposition claims was gutted and humiliated just the night before. The prime minister started by leaning on the classic "work if you can" rhetoric, a staple of British political discourse for decades. But notice his speech patterns. He's leaning heavily into the broken system narrative. It's a defensive crouch we've seen before, where every current failure is framed as a legacy of the previous administration. He mentioned the end of mandatory reassessments for those with severe disabilities, a move designed to be seen as compassionate, but the opposition immediately countered with the cold, hard math. Now, before we get into the U-turn that allegedly cost millions and the absolute circus that broke out over the £100 billion sickness benefit forecast, I have to stop and say, if you value this kind of raw professional analysis that calls out the political theater on both sides, hit that subscribe button right now. We are bringing you these daily news reports to ensure you aren't missing the nuances of these high-stakes parliamentary battles.
Difficult week for the Prime Minister. So let's start with something simple. Can the Prime Minister tell the House how much his welfare bill is going to save?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying free school matters on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, in relation to welfare, what we delivered last night was a bill which ends mandatory reassessment of those with severe disabilities. That is the right thing to do. It rebalances universal credit. That is long overdue, and it sets out a pathway to reform of PIP. Mr. Speaker, it's consistent with the principles I set out throughout. If you can work, you should work. If you need help into work, the state should provide the help. The system that they broke doesn't do so. And if you can't work...
I think there's one or two I can spot immediately. Usual voices, same names, please. It's too early to leave the chamber. Prime Minister.
And Mr. Speaker, if you can't work, you must be supported and protected. The reformed welfare system that we're putting in place will be better for individuals, better for the taxpayer, and better for the economy.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think the Prime Minister actually watched what happened in the House yesterday. His bill was completely gutted. A U-turn in the middle of the debate, removing Clause 5. Where on earth was he? The reason why he can't answer the question is because he knows it doesn't save any money. It's going to cost millions. This is the first Prime Minister in history to propose a bill to save money who ended up with a bill which costs money. So if the bill doesn't cut welfare spending, can the Prime Minister tell the House how many people it will get into work?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad she asked that because it gives me the opportunity to say we've already started changing the job centres and investing in support back into work. The Trailblazer scheme, which is doing exactly what she asked me, which is getting people back into work. The bill last night will help people back into work, and of course the Timms review is ongoing. But I tell you what won't help people back into work, won't help control the costs, and that is voting to keep the broken system. And that is what they did last night. Everybody in this House accepts that the current system is broken. It invites the question, who broke it? They broke it. And last night, they voted for the status quo. The broken system is their policy. That won't help individuals, taxpayer, and it certainly won't help the economy.
The opposition leader, who, let's be honest, is currently playing the role of a political wrecking ball, pointed out a massive contradiction. The government proposed a bill to save money, but after a U-turn that removed Clause 5, the opposition claims the bill will now actually cost money. The body language of the Prime Minister during this part was telling. He was leaning on the box, almost shaking his head, trying to dismiss the usual voices of dissent. But the numbers being thrown at him are staggering. Sickness benefits alone are projected to rise to £100 billion. That is a number that can sink a government's entire economic strategy. The opposition's accusation is that the Prime Minister is too weak to control his own backbenchers, over 100 of whom allegedly signed the amendment that gutted the bill. Then the debate took a sharp turn into the upcoming November budget.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell him what we did on welfare. Yes, they can laugh. While they're laughing, they don't know my party delivered the biggest reform of welfare in government. We got record numbers of people into work, including millions of disabled people, and we cut the deficit every year until COVID. The fact is, we're not scared of doing difficult things on this side of the House. We got people back into work. What he forgets is that since the election, since he became Prime Minister, an additional 1,000 people a day are signing on to incapacity benefits. That is 50% more than under us. 50% more than under us. And Mr. Speaker, astonishingly, because of the mess they made yesterday, because there are no more savings, sickness benefits alone are set to rise to £100 billion on his watch. He cannot reduce that now.
Mr. McKee, I think we've had a run-in before. I certainly don't want any more. Seriously. You're obviously not getting your timing right because I can hear your voice every time.
I'll start again, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Start again. Sickness benefits, louder for those at the back, sickness benefits are set to rise to £100 billion because of their mess. They cannot now reduce it. They can't reduce it because after last night's humiliating U-turn, we know he cannot control his MPs. They're cheering now, but you signed the amendment. Over 100 people signed that reasoned amendment until the bill was completely gutted. He said that he would take the difficult decisions, but isn't the reality that he is too weak to get anything done?
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell them what they did to the welfare system. They broke it. And it's the same as the NHS. What did they do? They broke it. Same as the economy. What did they do? They broke it. They broke everything that they touched. And now she describes the broken system that we are trying to fix. What did she do? She voted against fixing the system that they broke. And I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, and spell that out, they voted last night for the system that is keeping 1 million young people not learning or earning. That is a disgrace of their system. They voted for a system where we have 3 million people out of work on ill health, and they voted for that system. We're fixing it. We're clearing up the mess that they left, just like we're clearing up the NHS and the economy.
He's got some brass neck. Has he read the papers this morning? That bill will achieve nothing. It is a pointless waste of time and is absolute proof that he doesn't have a plan. Let me tell the House what's going to happen. In November, the Chancellor is going to put up our taxes to pay for his incompetence. We on this side of the House know that you can't tax your way to growth. But people out there are frightened. Yes. These are the same people who cheered when they talked about the NI rise and the jobs tax. Why are they complaining now? People out there are frightened. Can he, Mr. Speaker, reassure them by ruling out tax rises in the autumn budget?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she knows that no Prime Minister or Chancellor ever stands at the dispatch box and writes budgets in the future. That isn't what they did, it isn't what we did, and she knows it. But she talks about growth. For 14 years, we had stagnation, and that is what caused the problems. And I'm really pleased, Mr. Speaker, to show the progress that we're making. I can update the House. Last week, Amazon put in £40 billion of investment into this country, one of the biggest investments of its time. That brought the inward investment to £120 billion in the first year of this Labour government.
This is the tax and spend battleground of 2026. The opposition is sounding the alarm, warning that the Chancellor is going to hike taxes to cover for the incompetence of this welfare failure. The Prime Minister, in response, performed a classic Chancellor's shield, refusing to rule out tax rises, noting that no PM writes budgets in advance. But check out the pivot to growth. The PM started rattling off big wins, a $40 billion investment from Amazon, reaching $120 billion in inward investment in their first year, and claimed the fastest growth in the G7. It was an attempt to change the subject from welfare costs to business confidence. It was a professional, albeit desperate, effort to reclaim the narrative of labor growth against the Tory stagnation of the past 14 years. However, the opposition wasn't letting him off the hook. They brought up Nissan, a pointed reference to the manufacturing sector's anxieties, and then went for the personal jugular, calling the Chancellor toast and suggesting the opposition leader herself is a human shield for the Prime Minister's incompetence.
Mr. Speaker, I can also tell the House that business confidence is the highest for 9 years. That's longer than the whole time that the leading opposition's been in Parliament. And the figures this week demonstrated and showed we had the fastest growth in the G7 in the first quarter of this year. What a difference to the mess they left. That's the difference a Labour government made.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about jobs. Unemployment has risen every month since Labour took office. Has he spoken to Nissan, by the way, and looked at what's happening there? This man has forgotten that his welfare bill was there to plug a black hole created by the Chancellor. Instead, they're creating new ones. They're creating new ones. She looks... Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, yeah, she looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, they can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality is that she is a human shield for his incompetence. In January, he said that she would be in post till the next election. Will she really?
Prime Minister. She certainly won't. Mr. Speaker, I have to say I'm always cheered up when she asks me questions or responds to a statement, because she always makes a complete mess of it and shows just how unserious and irrelevant they are. But she talks about the black hole. They left a £22 billion black hole in our economy, and we're clearing it up. And I'm really proud, Mr. Speaker, that in the first year of a Labour government we got free school meals, breakfast clubs, childcare. Got £15 billion invested in transport in the North and the Midlands. We're cutting regulation, planning and infrastructure is pounding forward, building 1.5 million homes, the biggest investment in social and affordable housing. And of course, Mr. Speaker, the 3 trade deals. Remember the ones that they couldn't get, including the US trade deal. On Monday, those tariffs came down. That secured the jobs at JLR. That's who we care about on this side of the House.
How awful for the Chancellor that he couldn't confirm that she would stay in place. Yeah. He talks about this year in office. This week marks the first anniversary of Labour coming into office. And let's have it. Yes. The whips can't get them in the lobbies, but they can get them to chair at the right time. Yeah. The fact is, his own MPs are saying this government is, and I quote, incoherent and shambolic. That's Liverpool Wavertree that said that. I could go on and on. But the fact is, it's been mistake after mistake after mistake. There is no plan to get people into work. There is no plan to cut the welfare budget. There is no strategy. There is just a series of humiliating U-turns like winter fuel, like grooming gangs. Mr. Speaker, what's really shocking is that every other party in this House voted for even more welfare spending yesterday. Yes, those MPs behind him and the Lib Dems and Reform. The Conservative Party believes that this country needs to live within its means. We know what we believe, Mr. Speaker, but this is a Prime Minister who has U-turned on everything he's done in office, including his own speeches, because he doesn't know what he believes. With left-wing Labour MPs now running the government, isn't it working people who will now pay the price?
Mr. Speaker.
Given the staggering projection for sickness benefits, do you think the government should prioritize fiscal savings even if it means tougher assessments? Or is the humanitarian cost of mandatory reassessments too high for a modern democracy? As we look at the one-year anniversary of this government, we see a prime minister claiming victories on free school meals, breakfast clubs, and a landmark U.S. trade deal that finally brought down tariffs for companies like Jaguar Land Rover. But on the other side of the aisle, the word being used is shambolic. This wasn't just a debate about welfare. It was a battle over who owns the plan. The government says they are clearing up the mess, while the opposition says there is no strategy, only a series of humiliating U-turns. In 2026, the stakes for working people couldn't be higher. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do it now. We're going to be watching that November budget and the $100 billion sickness benefit trajectory like hawks. You won't get this level of detailed political breakdown anywhere else. Hit subscribe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next report.